Lightning is something that you have to pay attention to with a situation like this. There's the line that Mike is drawing a line on, and that is all approaching the Richmond area. This is going to produce wind gusts over 60 miles per hour. In some cases, the threat is there, the possibility is there. It doesn't mean everyone is going to experience that, but this is not a time to get out on the roads. We've got a lot of trees here in Virginia, and those become very dangerous in this type of situation. Here's the time of arrival of that line of severe weather. Blackstone at 5:56. The current time is 5:56, so it's basically moving in right now. Alberta at 6:06, Holly Grove 6:09, Midlothian at 6:14, Richmond 6:25, Matoaka 6:26, Hopewell at 6:36, Farmer Shop Corner at 6:40, Newville at 6:47, and Brandon at 6:55. What's the movement of this line, Mike? Is it still 55,
still around 60 miles an hour?
60 miles an hour. So it is coming in. Obviously, if it's moving at 60 miles per hour, it doesn't take much to produce a wind of 60 miles per hour. And you can see a couple of damage reports here, one up in Fluvanna County, one in Powhatan County, couple down in Prince Edward County. The one in Fork Union, near Fork Union, says widespread trees down across the county. So trees down throughout the Fluvanna County. So that's an impressive report. That came in at 4:30, so about an hour and a half ago. And we'll see more of these reports as these lines of storms continue to move into the area. We'll likely see power outages increasing as well. Last check, power outages were in that 7,000 to 10,000 customers without power, in that range somewhere. All right, so right in here, this is going to be where it looks like the circulation might have jumped into Lunenburg County. It is very difficult to pick out exactly where it is. Likely right in here somewhere along the Lunenburg and Mecklenburg County line. I'd say it's a little bit north of South Hill proper and likely heading into Brunswick County. That's where the polygon is going. I think the storm itself will continue to maintain itself and is moving roughly parallel, but just north of Interstate 85. So that is where the circulation looks like it's going to be moving right now. And we'll watch and track and see if this thing will continue to produce additional circulations on down the line. You know, we've got the line coming in toward Goochland now and Powhatan just west of there and down through Amelia. That is particularly heavy rainfall, and anytime you get a stronger storm, we have an atmosphere that has a tremendous amount of wind, several thousand feet up off the surface. So at the surface, we have winds right now 20 to 30 miles per hour sustained. But when you get a storm that comes into these winds that are 80 miles per hour off the surface, it can disrupt the atmosphere and bring what we call momentum transfer down to the surface. So you can end up with some really intense winds, these gusts. And we've seen some strong gusts, nothing over 60 yet. I think we're probably going to end up with that, though, before the evening is done, particularly over to our east, potentially here in central Virginia as well. So this is the new tornado watch. It includes the city of Richmond. It includes Henrico County, all of Chesterfield County now, over into Charles City County, and on down 64 into Hampton Roads. And this will remain in effect until 9 o'clock, same time of the expiration of the watch back to the west. This will likely get lopped off a little bit later on this evening as conditions start to stabilize just a little bit. You can see the flash flood warnings that are in effect from Chester up to Ashland and Hanover, all of the city of Richmond under a flash flood warning at this time, all of Powhatan, most of Goochland, most of Amelia, a good chunk of Chesterfield County. And again, this is a huge area under a flash flood warning. Just because it's a large area doesn't mean it's a big deal. A lot of times you get a smaller area, maybe part of a county under a flash flood warning. We have a tremendous area under a flash flood warning, and that is a serious situation. Now the sun has set. You don't want to drive out on the roads right now. You could encounter water that you never knew was going to be there, and all of a sudden it is, just because there's nowhere for this water to soak in anymore. It's all going to run off. This area here in orange, this is what we call a considerable flash flood warning. So you have the base level flash flood warning that's bad enough. Now we have an elevated area of that, and so it is considerable threat of flash flooding Amelia, Lunenburg, Nottoway, and Prince Edward counties. Again, we have the flash flooding threat going on at this time, as well as the tornado threat down in parts of Lunenburg and Mecklenburg County, as well as Brunswick County, and that is an area of concern as well. That whole line making its way into the Richmond area. We've had a little of adjustment to the tornado warning. It looks like we've taken Mecklenburg County out of that. Mike, I'm going to have you check and see what the locator is. It looks like that circulation may be a little west of Alberta, and it's moving to the northeast. So it looks like it's going to be coming parallel to Interstate 85, but just north of Interstate 85, and potentially moving through Alberta and McKinney. Go ahead, Mike.
About 8 miles southeast of Cambridge, moving northeast at 55.
Okay. All right, so we're right in this area here, northeast at 55 miles per hour. So closing speed on that is, it doesn't give you a lot of time, so you need to take those tornado safety precautions. Again, it's messy weather to begin with. It's not as though we have one singular storm and out ahead of it is nice weather. It's indoor weather to begin with, but now you need to think more of just being inside. You need to think about being in a safe spot inside your home, and we're always thinking lowest level in situations like this. It's a fast-moving storm, so you're not going to have to be there all night, just for the next 30 to 45 minutes. Get into the most interior part of your home, away from any external walls. You don't want to be in a room that has any windows. And always think lowest level. A basement is always the best place to be, but if you can't, just find a hallway somewhere or closet. And of course, don't get in your car. Cars are not good places to be. They'll just get rolled over. And the same thing with mobile homes, manufactured homes. They're not places to be either. Again, not everybody's going to be affected by this. This is a fairly small area that's under a tornado warning, but a very broad area here under the severe thunderstorm warning from Goochland County all the way through Powhatan, Amelia, Nottoway, down into Lunenburg and Mecklenburg counties. And along this line, we could have wind gusts easily approaching 60 miles per hour. Again, that line is coming through western sections of Goochland County now. It looks like it's about to hit Powhatan. It's moving through Amelia Courthouse at this time. It just moved through Blackstone, and it is approaching Alberta, and the southern end of that is where we have the circulation capable of producing a tornado. It's moving to the east-northeast at 60 miles per hour. So here is your time arrival, your updated time arrival. Clayville at 6:06. Then we're looking at Alberta at 6:09, Midlothian at 6:16. After that, over toward Matoaka at 6:25, Richmond 6:26, Varina at 6:33, Mango Hick 6:41, Newville 6:45, Brandon 6:53, and Carsley at 6:57. Again, that's based on a movement to the east-northeast at 60 miles per hour. So these storms, even moving fast, they're still dumping a tremendous amount of rain because they're so expansive. You've got so much out ahead of it and even in behind it as well. So a lot of water out there. Many areas are already saturated because of the rain we've already gotten, and we've already kind of filled the cup up just from what we had in December, and here we are in January doing it over and over again with this very active El Nino pattern and a big storm system every 4 to 5 days. The ground just can't handle it all. It's just going to run into the lowest areas, and the lowest areas a lot of times are streets, and that causes a big problem, especially in urban areas where you don't have a lot of grass that you have in the rural areas, so water doesn't soak into concrete. It's got to run off somewhere, and you get greater flash flooding in the urban areas. You can see the winds here. These are some strong winds here in the blue, these blue shadings here, Kenbridge to Blackstone. Those are strong winds. Not seeing a strong circulation at this time, but there is or has been enough of a circulation to prompt a tornado warning, which remains in effect for about another 11 minutes. It is set to expire at 6:15. It could be that this line is going to continue to produce little brief circulations. That happens a lot of times. It's not something that, again, jumps off the page. You see the circulation, you know exactly where it is just by looking from home. But I've seen it at times. You can see a little bit of a circulation here, then it will kind of go away, then it'll kind of redevelop. But again, it's a weak circulation, but a tornadic circulation nonetheless, and one that you have to take seriously. Again, we have an evolving flooding situation across the area. This is a tremendous amount of rain we have right now. The flood watch is all areas in green, so everybody in central and eastern Virginia, Tidewater area included. This is going to be until 1 o'clock in the morning, but then this huge area here in the peach shadings, those are all flash flood warnings, a big area under a flash flood warning. And then you have this area here from Amelia to just a little east of Farmville to Crew to north of Chase City. And this is something that we haven't seen in a while, if we've seen it. It's a new level of a flash flood warning. Instead of just a regular flash flood warning, this is called a considerable threat for flash flooding, and that is just due to measurements and Doppler estimates of 3 inches of rainfall with additional 2 inches possible in that area. So that's 5 inches or more of rain, and the ground just can't handle that, and you can get significant flooding, not just some short-term flash flooding, but it could be deep, it could be really rough in those areas. And of course it's night, so your normal route through some of these rural roads could be completely underwater. All right, so this is thunderstorm wind damage coming in from the Boynton area. This is right where we had the tornado warning initially issued, and you can see that's Boynton, Mecklenburg County, trees down throughout Mecklenburg County. That came in at 5:36. So again, that was right when the tornado warning was issued. And so kind of connect the dots there. We don't know that a tornado was confirmed. It could have been just straight line winds from that storm that had a tornado warning on it. But it looks like a significant storm on the tail end of that line did move through Mecklenburg County. We still have this tornado warning in effect. Again, this is going to be along and north of Interstate 85 until you get into Alberta. It looks like it'll be a little bit on the east side of 85 at that point. And that is until 6:15. So again, it is part of Brunswick County, part of Lunenburg County, but no longer for Mecklenburg County at this time. And then from Goochland to Powhatan to Amelia to Blackstone, this whole area here in orange, that is the severe thunderstorm warning for this line stretching from Goochland down 522 into Powhatan, then down toward Amelia and Chula. And it looks like it's just past Amelia Courthouse, now just on the east sides of Blackstone. That's coming up into central Goochland County. It'll be moving into Chesterfield County, as well as Richmond, Henrico County, Hanover County. And anywhere along that line, we're going to have not only flooding concerns, but also wind damage concerns as well. Again, there's Chula, all the way down toward Manborough and toward Wilson's. These areas that are in the darker reds would indicate tremendous amounts of very heavy rainfall with that line. And then these hotter areas here in green, light green, and even blue, those would indicate the presence of winds that could be 60 miles per hour or greater. So you can see that's all right along that line. The atmosphere right now is characterized by strong winds at the surface, but super strong winds just off the surface, about 3,000 or 4,000 feet up. We're looking at winds that are 80 to 90 miles per hour. And if they're up there on their own and undisturbed, that's fine. But when you bring in lines of showers like this, it will disturb those winds and sometimes bring them down to the surface. We call it mixing, and that momentum transfer of those winds can result in some high-powered surface winds. And when that happens, you get reports like what we have seen in Fluvanna County and also down to our south in Mecklenburg County, where you get the reports of trees down throughout the county, all over the place. So lots of widespread damage from trees coming down in this type of scenario. All right, so looking at what we've got out there right now, it's a broad area of heavy rainfall, and that map is updating. It's got so much information coming in right now, it sometimes will just kind of a pause, but you can see what's going on. The whole area in red is the tornado watch. That tornado watch has been expanded. Still a 9 o'clock expiration time on it, but it has been expanded eastward and a little bit northward. So it did not include the city of Richmond earlier. Now the city of Richmond is under a tornado watch until 9 o'clock tonight, and it's really for this line coming in. That is the main concern we're looking at right now. So it's city of Richmond. It is Henrico County, it is all of Chesterfield County, it is Charles City County as well. Farther north, the atmosphere is a little bit more stable, a little bit cooler up there, so we don't have the tornado watch in that area. It is farther south where you have the greater overlay of the humidity as well as the temperature and all of that combining to give us that threat. And there's the wind shear, it's there all over Virginia, but you get all those things together, those ingredients together, it looks like Richmond and south and east is going to be our best chance to have perhaps a spin-up tornado. As of right now, just the one tornado warning, and it is still in effect. It's going to be in effect for about 5 more minutes, and that includes Alberta and then close to McKinney. And Mike, can we just back up a little bit and see if we can see the circulation as it moved past Dundas? It looked like it was just right up in here and moved just north of Dundas, and now it looks like it might have gone away. again, there's a chance that we could have redevelopment circulation anywhere in this line, not just on the southern end of it, but anywhere along the line you could have a little circulation in there. But as of this time, just not seeing much in there other than very, very heavy rainfall and obviously just the framework of strong winds that could be tapped into at any time. So that is a concern as well. So again, there's the line, Goochland down to Powhatan, down to far western sections now of Chesterfield County. So we're going to be looking at Skin Quarter over toward Winterpock pretty soon, as well as Mosley are going to be in the path of this. So there's Mosley, there's Winterpock, so you can have Skin Quarter right down in here, and then up toward Brandermill, Woodlake, all areas down Hull Street Road affected, as well as Midlothian, Genito Road, Mannequin Sabot also going to be affected here. This is 288 in the west end. We're looking at the West Creek area, as well as Tuckahoe Creek out toward Hermitage Country Club, as well as Kenlock, and then farther west as you get out toward Sycamore Creek, Oilville, Rockville. All of those areas be affected by this. Wyndham, Dominion Club area, and on into Midlothian, Salisbury area, Founders Bridge neighborhood, all of that corridor down Huguenot Trail, as well as Robius Road, looking at Independence Golf Club. All these areas are going to be affected by a tremendous amount of very heavy rainfall as this moves in, and also the potential for damaging straight line wind. The tornadic circulation is pretty far south, and we'll see. I think this warning likely will expire in a couple of minutes because I just don't see a very intense rotation in there. Mike, you can update me if you see anything to the contrary, but I would expect that they're going to let this thing expire, and it's just going to be a severe thunderstorm warning for the entire area. But it is a huge severe thunderstorm warning, way up north of Richmond all the way down to areas almost to the North Carolina line are under severe thunderstorm warning. And again, it's this line right here, Goochland to Powhatan to Amelia to Blackstone, all areas here, just given the very strong winds aloft, at any time you could get strong wind gusts and damaging wind gusts. So it's best to just sort of get to where you need to get to and just drop anchor for a little while, let this storm move through. Behind this is going to be no picnic with the heavy rainfall, but overall, this area moving in right now poses the greatest threat. Over the next hour to an hour and 15 minutes will pose the greatest threat for damaging wind gusts here in the Richmond area as it continues to move to the east. Whole area is under a flash flood warning here in the Richmond area. Back to the west, Powhatan and Goochland, and this area here in orange again is under a considerable flash flood warning. It is the next level up for areas that have received over 3 inches of rain. The rain continues to come down. There's nowhere for it to go. The ground is saturated, and we could have significant flooding issues. And then farther south is where we have the tornado warning. And again, maybe for just a couple more minutes, but just stay alert if you're down here in parts of northern sections of Brunswick County and far eastern sections of Lunenburg County. That is where the tornado warning remains in effect for a short while longer, and we will see if that remains intact here. I would imagine they will let that expire in about 60 seconds. Again, heavy rainfall in the Richmond area. The worst of it is this line that is coming in from the west, and then behind that we'll continue with some heavier rainfall. So I would say by the time all is said and done, in this area we're going to get between 2.5, maybe 3 inches of rainfall in some areas. There's the severe thunderstorm warning. Is that a new? That's a brand new warning coming out, is it not?
Brand new.
Okay, brand new warning. All right, so now you've got more areas covered in a severe thunderstorm warning than you do even the tornado watch. And so this is going to be Colonial Heights, Hopewell, Petersburg, Richmond, Charles City County, Hanover County, Henrico County, Newton County till 7 o'clock. So for the next 45 minutes. And everywhere from Doswell down to Ashland and Hanover, out toward Aylett, Central Garage area. This goes all the way out to our east, to Talliesville area, New Kent, Charles City, Providence Forge, Prince George, Disputana, all the way down toward Dinwiddie. Carson, Stony Creek area is going to be on the far southern end of all of this, and then all the areas that are already covered by warnings as well. So it is a huge area. I don't know if I remember such a large area being under a severe thunderstorm warning, but here we go. It's just a big area. It does not mean that every single person is going to have a tree come down in their yard. That is not what it means. It just means that the broad area, everything is in place for there to be sporadic damage from severe weather. We've already seen that happen, and that is likely going to happen again. Here's the time of arrival. We're looking at Holly Grove at 6:15, McKinney at 6:18, Midlothian 6:22, Windham at 6:26, Tuckahoe 6:29, Matoaka 6:32, Richmond at 6:35, Petersburg 6:38, Varina 6:41, and Hopewell at 6:44. That is based on a movement to the east and a little bit north of True East at how much?
That line 50 miles an hour.
50 miles an hour on this. So 50 miles an hour as this comes on through the area. So it will be in and out in pretty short order. Hopefully you don't have to go anywhere over the next hour or hour and a half, but it's just not a good idea to get out and try to drive around with this type of weather coming in. And find a nice safe spot inside your home and let this storm roll on through. The tornado warning has been allowed to expire, has it not?
Yes, that is gone.
Okay, it is now gone, so we can remove that, guys, from the bottom of the screen. We're done with the tornado warning, at least for right now, but a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for much of central Virginia, really, and that's a weird thing to say because usually you'd say a watch would be issued for much of central Virginia, but this is a warning for such a huge area. We're talking about central sections of New Kent County all the way back to central sections of Goochland and Powhatan County, all the way up to Doswell, all the way down to Dinwiddie. Big area here, expected to see, in some cases, severe weather. Mike, you were saying?
Though they're not covered by a severe thunderstorm warning for this part, just want to let the people in the northern neck and middle peninsula know, this part of this line right here, this is not severe, but this little section right there, you could still have some wind gusts, 40, 50, 55 miles an hour. So even though that's not included as the line that we're tracking, you still may get some wind damage, especially the fact that we have such saturated ground. Even some weak or some diseased trees can come down, even 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Yep, that's a good point. And really, when we looked at the atmosphere last day or two, the most intense winds will likely be over to our east in the northern neck and middle peninsula. That is where those winds aloft that I was talking about. In central Virginia, they were 80 to 90. To our east, they were 90 to close to 100. So some intense winds. Again, these are winds aloft. Type of wind that if you don't mess with it, it's okay. It's up there. It does not bother us here at the surface. But when you bring in these lines of storms, then that can get worked down to the surface. Not in the form of 90-mile-an-hour surface winds, but in the form of 50 to 60-mile-per-hour winds. We've got a 51-mile-per-hour wind gust in Norfolk right now, so you can see it is already happening in some areas. 32 in Tappahannock, that's reasonable. That's not off the charts. In Richmond, 32, we've had a gust as high as 46 around here. So things are kind of falling into place as they look like they would. Gust to 45 in Richmond, we've had them at 46 so far today. A couple gusts right around 44 miles per hour as well. These are the max wind gust, 46 Richmond, 52 down in Norfolk, 40 out in Kilmarnock, and the strongest winds are yet to come for those of you that live in the northern neck and middle peninsula. We're starting to see the power outage numbers spike up a little bit. We're 10,500 in the Richmond Tri-Cities area without power, so that's a pretty significant number of folks without power, and I do unfortunately expect that number to continue to climb as this line that's now just west of the Richmond area and west of 95 moves into the area. We're likely to have some sporadic wind damage, trees down, and the resultant power outages from that. So what you're looking at here is a broad area in orange that's a severe thunderstorm warning. Could have wind gusts over 60 miles per hour in this area. Underneath that is a tornado watch. The tornado watch does include the Richmond area. It moves right up through here along 295, so it includes Richmond. It includes City of Richmond as well as Henrico County and all of Chesterfield County. Does not include Hanover County, so it kind of comes up here. It doesn't include New Kent County either, but that is where the cutoff is between the most unstable air and air that has a little bit more stability to it farther north. The farther south you go, the greater the potential is for not only severe weather, but perhaps some rotating storms. All right, so looking at the flash flood warnings, this is a significant threat here. A lot of times you'll get a flood advisory issued in a broader sense, but this is a huge area that's under a flash flood warning right now. All of the city of Richmond, from Chester on up toward Doswell and Hanover up to Beaver Dam to Goochland and Powhatan. And again, this area here back to the west, it's in orange. This is a considerable flash flood warning. So basically you take the base level flash flood warning, which is bad enough, and this is an extra level there. And that is going to be from areas between Amelia and Farmville and between Crewe and a little north of Chase City. And that is just based on the likelihood that in this area we've had over 3 inches of rain with additional rainfall falling down. So we have 4 inches now between Amelia and Powhatan, and closing in on 4 inches north and west of the Crew area, and between Powhatan and Goochland getting some heavy totals in there as well. And again, these totals will continue to climb as this heavy rain continues to move into the Richmond area. So this area has seen the lines of storms that we're about to get here in Richmond, and we'll likely get into that 2 to 3 inch total rainfall, maybe a little bit more in some cases. That line now moving right along the 288 corridor. So the most intense weather now is going to be stretching from near Short Pump all the way past Tuckahoe Creek Parkway. Farther south, it's going to be out near Midlothian Turnpike as well as Whole Street Road. And all of that is right along 288 and continues to move in toward Tuckahoe here shortly. So very, very heavy rainfall and the potential for damaging winds. Let's look at the velocities, Mike, not for rotation, but just to see some of the higher end winds. And again, these winds are strong, intense winds here with this line of storms that continues to come in. That's why it's under a severe thunderstorm warning, wind gust over 60 miles per hour. Was there any extra wording on that, Mike, that it could be 65 or more, or are we still at 60 miles per hour on the winds? And what you're looking at are velocities here. And Mike's looking that up right now. You can see he's queried that. Basically, he can take his cursor and just put it on any point on the map, and it'll indicate what the winds are. Now, these winds are aloft. They're a little bit off the surface, so not being resolved at the surface, but they can work their way down to the surface.
Just 60.
60 mile per hour winds. Okay, so we're still at the base level of severe thunderstorm warning, which is good. That's what you want to see. Get very heavy rainfall here in the Richmond area. Line of severe weather coming into town right now, stretching from Short Pump down to Midlothian, down through Winterpock, and really it's right in the Brandermill area now. So we're looking at Whole Street Road and 288. And that'll be approaching Chester here shortly, eventually down towards Sutherland and the Petersburg area. So you just need to stay alert for strong winds, very heavy rainfall. We're talking about localized flash flooding. In some cases, the whole area is under a flash flood warning. Doesn't mean everybody's experiencing flash flooding, but the conditions are definitely there, and we've already seen some reports of that. And here are the wind damage reports as well. Fork Union area, a little bit north of there up in Fluvanna County, widespread trees down throughout the county, as well as out near Powhatan. Is that near Chula, Mike, that report came in from Powhatan? Or is that's Warsham's? That's right, Warsham's. Over 1,200 power outages due to the storm. Gotcha. So this is a flood report coming in here now. So near Sabbath, flash flood, lane closures due to high water, Route 657. If you live out in that area, you know where Route 657 is, or you may know where it is. So again, starting to get road closures. This is Farmville. Road closures, and this isn't Richmond, but this is just an indication of what's happened back to the west to give you an idea of what we could get here in central Virginia as well, being under this flash flood warning that we have right now. And you can see, you got this line coming in, but you got more rain coming in behind this as well. It's not going to be until later on tonight, after about 9 o'clock, where things really begin to wind down for the area. The line extends from now Short Pump to now just inside 288. So this is going to be inside 288 around Robius Road and 288. So we're looking at the Founders Bridge neighborhood, the River Downs neighborhood, Tarrington as well, getting hit with this. There's Robius Road right in here. And again, there's Midlothian Turnpike, Reams Road, Lux Lane, right along 288 as well. There's Brandermill area, Wood Lake, Pocahontas State Park, southern sides here at 288 down toward Woodland Pond neighborhood, as well as the Highlands neighborhood down that way. And then right here into Richmond. So there's Tuckahoe, Short Pump area, all this area out toward Sleepy Hollow and into the Richmond Fan area, all going to get on this very, very heavy rain as it moves from the east, or from the west to the east at about 60 miles per hour as this comes on through. You can hear the rain really starting to pick up in intensity here in the Richmond area. And you can see the boxes that we have. Mike Stone is handling graphics with me and looking at what Storm Rider is showing us out on the streets at this time with flooding. If you guys I can't see that monitor that well from here, but if he's got some flooding, please let me know. Mike, any updates on what you're seeing over there? Any reports?
No, a lot of the reports I've been getting recently has been like the ones that popped up for you. There's been like a lot of lane closures due to the heavy rain, some spots already over 3 inches of rain. And like you mentioned, we have this line of the severe thunderstorms, but look off towards the west, there's still a lot of heavy rain behind it. So this area back here, this is not severe weather, but that is still heavy rain. Like look at around Lunenburg and Mecklenburg County, even though that's not severe weather and we don't have thunder and lightning there, that rain rate is still really coming down. In fact,
and it is severe south of the line too. Down in North Carolina, they have the warnings in effect. So yeah, you've got multiple lines of rain, and it's not letting up. It will let up eventually, but we're going to be adding, in some cases, well more than an inch in 1 hour coming down over the area. And it's not as though this is a one-day deal for us, and it just all happened today, and that's why we have the flooding threats. It's just, again, we are loaded up from what happened in December, way over the top, with the wettest December ever recorded. And then here we are in January, not skipping a beat, hitting this train of storms once again every few days. And it's pretty classic El Nino. A lot of times one of these storms would result in some snow. That hasn't been the case, but there's been tons of moisture to work with if it ever was here, if the cold air ever was in place. But again, this is the biggest flash flood warning area I've ever seen. And that's 16 years speaking here as the chief meteorologist in this station here in Richmond. That's a big area. We're looking at Hanover County on up into parts of Louisa County, all of Goochland County, all of the city of Richmond, as well as all of Henrico County, Chesterfield County, all the Tri-Cities as well, all the way down to the North Carolina-Virginia line. I mean, this is huge. I've seen flash flood watches smaller than this, and this is a flash flood warning. So it's a massive area. And you've got this area in here that's a particularly dangerous area. It is a considerable flash flood warning area. It goes until 8 o'clock, and that's where you just have a tremendous amount of water. All areas here in the flash flood warning, that's serious enough, but when you add on top of that, the significant flooding that could be going on here, you have an elevated flash flood warning, which is called a considerable flash flood warning. So considerable amounts of water continue to come on in and not showing any signs of letting up until probably 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Mike?
Also, make sure you're careful of area rivers. We're starting to see some rapid river rise. So if you live near a river and it's okay now, it may not be an hour or two from now. Right,
and that is a delayed response. Your creeks rise first. Your bigger rivers like the James, those will be rising later on in the week. The next day or two will likely have some significant river rises, maybe some minor flooding. The Meharon River, always one that you have to watch out for, and the Appomattox River as well as the James. We're going to continue to track this for you. We've got a very heavy rainfall that continues to move through the area and severe weather, potentially severe weather here in the Richmond area. We'll have team coverage for you, and we'll bring you updates as this continues to develop. One last update on the tornado watch. It includes much of central Virginia from Richmond south, and this whole area in orange, that is a severe thunderstorm warning. So again, no tornado warnings at this time, but a huge area under a severe thunderstorm warning. And again, as Michael was noting, more lines of storms down in North Carolina, and it looks like that might be a considerable severe thunderstorm warning as well, Mike, down there in North Carolina with a different border, indication of that next level up from just your base severe thunderstorm warning. So again, severe thunderstorm warning, considerable winds of 70 miles per hour with this line that is coming up into Virginia. So again, it's going to be a couple more hours before this finally all settles down and we are in the clear, but not before some significant wind and rain still expected. And again, I still think that the hardest hit areas with wind are going to be over to our east in the northern neck, middle peninsula, and potentially down into Hampton Roads as well. Wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, not due to thunderstorms at all, will be possible in that area. We'll bring you the very latest on the air here on CBS 6 and also online. If you have questions, you can post those on our social media pages, and we will get back to you as quickly as possible. So stay with us here for the next several hours as we take you through this storm. Stay with CBS 6. We'll keep you ahead of the storm.
The UCROP's Monument Avenue 10K, presented by Kroger, will parade up and down Monument Avenue on April 20th. Don't wait to register. The price goes up on January 4th.
CBS 6 Traffic is sponsored by JES Foundation Repair, your foundation and waterproofing experts.